It's preparing to go live. Okay, I think we are live. Welcome, everybody. Happy Friday. It's Friday here. My name is Jigna from People's Wave of Love, and joining me are Linda and Marshall, Golden Eagle Jack. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us. And as everybody's coming in, as always, would love to see your hellos in the comment and where you're joining us from. Marshall, how are we doing today?
Doing good. Still trying to wake up over here. And our sun's trying to come out, but the clouds are kind of getting in the way this morning. But it's a good day. It's a good day. Nice and cool.
Good, brand new day.
Brand new day. Never
That's
been here.
right. That's right. Would you like to open us up in a prayer?
Sure. We'll call in the holy ones, your ancestors. Everybody just relax. Take 3 deep breaths. The first breath is just kind of inhale all that energy that's around you and let that outside world kind of stay outside your doors, wherever you're at. Just kind of disconnect with that energy. And the second one is focus. Kind of get yourself focused, and don't worry about anything for the time being. Just let yourself kind of relax. Let your body relax. Let your mind relax. Just kind of get into that silent space. And we're going to call in all of our ancestors. So we'll do that at this time. Ask permission to call in the Creator, Great Mystery, all of the grandmothers, all of the grandfathers, all the galaxies and the universes. Call upon all the councils of creation that watch over everything. Call upon the sacred Mother Earth and all the living beings and kingdoms, all that live upon the Mother Earth. We call upon all of our ancestors, both on our mother and our father's side, to be with us here today, sit with us, and comfort us, and support us in what we're doing. We also call upon all the ancestors of the planet, all of our human ancestors, plants, animals, water, kingdoms. Call them all in this day. Ask them to be a part of our journey this day. And we ask the holy ones for guidance. Call upon all of Goldie's ancestors, the dimensional worlds out there, that higher consciousness. We ask them to come in at this time. We ask a blessing for you, wherever you are. A blessing for your home, your family, your lands. And, most importantly, is for your life. So again, we thank you for joining us, and we welcome all the sacred elements and sacred beings to be here with us. Oh, thank you. So, again, we wake up to a brand new day. A day that's never ever been used. We're never ever going to see this day again. It's a very, very unique and special day, just like every day is. But many of us, we bring into this day energies from yesterday, last week, last month, last year, or whatever. And sometimes we lose sight of the present. We lose sight of this actual moment in this particular day. The holy ones, they showed many things this morning, but most of it is about understanding freedom And as I was talking with them, I said, okay, so freedom, I've heard that many times before, but what does freedom actually mean? What are you implying here to us today? And basically, what I understand through what they're showing is freedom is more like the freedom of expression, the freedom to be who you are, what you are, or why you are every given second of your life without restraints, without conditions, without what would you call it? Practices. So sometimes we become limited by what we've been taught or what we've been conditioned to believe in our journey. We're influenced by other people's thoughts, or, like yesterday we were talking about ego. We're influenced by other people's ego. And so it's almost as though we're being forced to do things that are constraining, the conditioning factor. And so what the holy ones are saying is that freedom is to be free of all attachments, all conditioning forms, all codependencies, and understand who we are as individuals without all of those conditions that have guided us along. And when I was asking Goldie about it this morning, I said, so if we find that freedom within inside of ourselves, how do we go into the future, go into this day without any of those conditions? And Goldie says it's Goldie's saying it's not so much a practice, but it's relearning who we are as an individual without all of those conditions. I'm not sure if that really makes any sense. It kind of makes sense to me, but I don't know if it makes sense to you that are watching. So I'm going to hand it back to Jigna here. What does this mean to you? Freedom. I'm an absolute freedom, the bigger picture of freedom as an individual.
The first time you shared this with me a while ago, it was hard to understand because here we are, we're so intertwined with all of those conditions that you speak of, attachments and codependencies on a day-to-day basis. And for all of our lives, how can you even get to a place of releasing all of that, even for a split second? And that took me a while, and it still takes me a while. And it's one of those things that's hard to verbalize what it feels like unless you go, through it. And I remember when I was able to get to that place after years of meditating, it's a scary, it's a scary place. It feels, you feel really alone in that moment. But that was where I realized that I am fully supported by, spirit and my ancestors and the holy ones. And so that really was the first time where I really felt that. So it was a profound moment. And at the same time, it was just so fleeting. And so for me to get closer to that place, it really takes practice. And in the rituals that I do, in the ceremonies that I do, in the meditation as well. So yeah, so to answer your question, it's hard for me to verbalize it. I'm curious what, our viewers think. Of course, Linda, chime in when you're ready, but I I'll go ahead and read what we have. Ellen, who shares that, and quoting her, "I have to practice every day because I'm interacting and involved with others. I think it's about detachment to the ego and open and compassion." It's tricky. It's so true, Ellen. It's tricky and it takes constant practice. But over time, it comes, the compassion comes in times where we don't even expect it. When I thought I was so judgmental and I'm showing up in a compassionate way in a time that I don't expecting, I really attribute that to this continued practice. Linda, do you have any comments on that?
Yes, I do. Um, Freedom. What is freedom? And if I was going to describe myself as being free, it would be free of my self-judgment. And it would be free of judgment of others too. I think when we put limitations on ourselves, either in what we expect of ourselves or what we think is possible, that limits our freedom. It limits our freedom of expression. It limits our freedom of exploration. It limits our freedom of actualizing who we can become. There's so many restrictions and limitations that are placed on us as a small child. We're taught, don't do this, don't do that, don't say this, don't say that, don't behave this way, don't behave that way. And all these limitations that are being placed on us limit our freedom of expression, our freedom of exploration, our freedom of independence, our freedom of who we really are, of really, expanding who we really are. And who we really are limitless. We have no limits. Anything that we can conceive of can be manifested, can be actualized. And we can see evidence of this everywhere we look, around us, in the buildings, in the things that we've created, all of those things that are in our world right now that are man-made started with an idea, a thought. And it was only the releasing of that limitation that allowed that to manifest. So if we released those limitations, if we identified them so that we could release them, and practiced allowing ourselves to think and believe and trust that there is more even than what we can conceive of. And that is a difficult thing to think of. When we start looking at our thoughts and we think, oh, this is as far as my imagination goes, and yet there's more. We can even think beyond what we thought of. So every time that you start thinking, well, this is the wildest that my imagination can go to, think again, because there's even more beyond that. And there's more beyond that, and there's more beyond that. There is no limit to that. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why I like science fiction so much. or just fiction, fiction fantasy, fiction anything, because this is where the imagination comes from. This is the source of what I can imagine. That's the freedom part that I always want to keep feeding and bringing into my life. It means that there's a solution to all problems. So that's what I have to say on freedom.
Yeah, that's a good description and a good analogy of what's going on. But there was another word that came in while you were talking, and that's sovereignty. sovereignty as an individual, is that we walk amongst literally 8 billion people on this planet, give or take. And to be sovereign in that kind of environment is how do we what's another right word? How do we become free in that type of environment without conditioning ourselves to be a part of that environment? I don't know if those are right words. Something that came into mind the other day when we were talking with you, Jigna, remember when we were talking about when you go home, when you go back to your homelands, it's almost like you have to change your persona because of what's going on in your homelands. You become a different person because of conditioning or culture or whatever it is. And I'll share a couple of stories here. One that came into mind while Jigna was talking about is that freedom and understanding freedom. I'm sure many of you have seen the movie Avatar. Avatar is a prime example of how our freedom is manipulated, judged, and controlled. And so it's as though we as humans, we kind of go back to that control factor. There's a thought emerges. And in the movie Avatar, it was all about the resource that was, there in their lands. And then this one person wanted to, retrieve all of these resources with detriment to the people who live there. That's kind of like an ongoing practice here on the earth. It's like, somebody wants something in somebody else's land, and they'll do whatever it is to get it. And so it's those things, I think about, kind of haphazardly out here as a participant in this human world. But years ago, I'll share a story with you. It was a time when I started doing water ceremonies. And the majority of the ceremonies were done amongst my own people, in our own lands and working with the tribes and working with the indigenous people, basically. But the Holy Ones, they came in and they said that this energy, this knowledge about caretaking the water, it needs to be offered to the whole world, basically. And as they were showing the whole world, taking care of the waters, the planetary waters, all kinds of things started coming in at that particular time. But I had reservations about how am I as an individual going to teach other people outside of my culture the essence of water. And it may not sound like a big thing, but because of my conditioning and the rituals and the honor and the respect of the elders and the guidance and everything else, is like, okay, so how do I bridge myself into the outer world without specifically performing a Native American ceremony? Because obviously a lot of people don't understand Native American ceremonies. And so that was my dilemma. How can I engage with the rest of the world as a neutral element, if you will? And actually, it's good we have Ellen on here, because she was involved in a ceremony that we did at Hood River, where I literally gave up my culturalistic beliefs in order for me to go out into the world. And I'm going to give a prime example of what I'm talking about, like pipe ceremonies. You know, the world doesn't know what a pipe ceremony is. They may condone it, they may agree with it, they may, you know, discard it, whatever, but it doesn't fit into the bigger world. Or eagle ceremonies or sweat lodge ceremonies or any of the ceremonies that we practice in the indigenous ways, it doesn't really fit into mainstream society on a global scale. And so that was my challenge is, okay, so how can I become neutral as far as belief systems, but still offer the teachings about the waters? And so that was my challenge. And so at a particular ceremony, I was guided by my ancestors and the holy ones to let go of all of those beliefs, all of those conditions, and all of those factors that held me in trust, if you will, and dissolve them, get rid of them, because they don't fit into the rest of the world's environment. And it's kind of like what you were saying, Jigna, like you going home, you know, being in America, living this lifestyle that you're living right now and taking that lifestyle into your home, it's not going to work. It will, but it won't. You know what I'm saying? There's a part of you that wants to be who you are right now, going back to your homelands. And it's the same way with me. For me, when I go, when I go back to my homelands, I'm me. I'm who you're seeing right now. I don't change because I don't feel like I need to change to accommodate them. I'm myself. I have a freedom of expression. That's who I am as a spiritual leader. And so the challenge was to dissolve anything that is not compatible with the rest of the planet. And so when I did that, you know, I burned eagle feathers, I burned pipes, I had a big fire ceremony, and I literally gave up my culture, given it back to my culture, given all the rituals and all the practices and whatever. I just gave it all back to the fire and say, okay, release me of those constraints. And that's what kind of brought me to here where I'm at today, is losing all of those constraints of my culture, you know, honoring and respecting my culture, but not being so harnessed in it that I can't express myself. So anyway, I share that much with you right now, because I know a lot of people have difficulties being themselves in somebody else's environment. So let's talk about that a little bit. So how can we encompass that kind of freedom of being ourselves no matter where we go without worrying what people are thinking about us? So let's open up that dialogue. Jigna.
Well, that's a great question, because I don't feel like I can show up as my true self at every single point. I have friends.
Okay, let me interject right there. Okay, that's what I'm talking about right there. So why don't you think you can be yourself in that environment?
It's I don't want to deal with the judgment. And for example, my spiritual work, you know, very few of my friends who have known me for 2 decades know about, you know, the work that I'm doing. And it's inner work, it's personal, and I'm going through my own journey and finding my community, my spiritual community where I go. So I feel supported. And so then I don't feel the need to, almost for lack of a better word, deal with people who don't align with that. And so I don't, it's not that I pretend to be who I'm not. It's not that. But I definitely don't dive deeper into my spirituality around certain people. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. But that's what I'm talking about, is that freedom to be who you are anywhere you go on the planet without having to worry about the judgments. It's their judgments. For me, it's like mindless entertainment. If they want to judge me, that's their prerogative. I don't really.
Work in progress. I'm going to work on it.
So does anybody else have any comments about what we're discussing?
I wanted to, read some comments here talking about freedom earlier when you were asking about that. Pamela said that, she, to quote her, I have a daily yoga practice and meditate to ground and start my day. When I'm at my center and in the flow, I feel on love and life and never want it to end. With practice, I am able to experience freedom in this space for longer periods of time without the distractions of the world. Eventually, I have to interact with others. Hold on one second, I lost that. Eventually, I have to interact with others, which makes it harder to stay in this place of pure love and joy. So that touches into the question that you were asking just now, Marshall. Sandy says, for me, freedom is a state of mind. I've heard and read about prisoners, whether prisoners of war or incarceration as a sentence for a crime. Those who find joy, freedom, and peace within have found a way to allow the self to be unaffected by their circumstance in the moment. So if anyone has any thoughts, continued thoughts about Marshall's question now, which is how do we allow ourselves to feel that freedom all day? Go ahead, Linda.
So I am, for part of my job during the year, a tax preparer. And it's a pretty, left-brained, serious, dealing with numbers kind of a thing. Although there is the human aspect that you're dealing with people on a topic that's very sensitive, okay? It's a kind of volatile subject for a lot of folks. Are they going to get a refund, or are they going to owe? There's a lot of trepidation around it. It's kind of like going to the dentist. And I try to make the experience as easy and as comforting as possible. And I've been doing this for 22 years. So during the first, I would say, half of that decade there, I wouldn't bring any of my personal belief theories into play at all. And then I decided, screw it. I'm just going to go and be me. I'm going to express and be who I am. And so I would bring crystals in, set them at my desk. Sometimes that would spark a conversation. I would wear crystals. Sometimes that would spark a conversation. And I started, when I'm answering the phones or I'm helping somebody with something, most often it was, most recently, when are we going to get this refund? And because the IRS has been so backlogged and overworked and overwhelmed, the refunds haven't been coming in. So there really isn't anything that I can do to help these people. And so I decided that I was going to bring in some other assistance and offer that up. So what I started doing was telling the folks, you can check the website, you can go on and do that as much frequency as possible. But then you can also just ask your ancestors to come in and give you assistance. And surprisingly, it was really well received. Sometimes it would come up with kind of a, ha 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 ha, I mean, what do you have to lose by asking, your grandma, your grandpa that has passed over to help get you your refund? I mean, what do you have to lose to ask them for this? And a lot of people said, well, thanks, I'll give that a try, because they would have never even considered it had I not even brought it in. And I think that aspect of doing that was a freedom for me. It was releasing that that idea that because I'm in this kind of an occupation, that I have to only just stay in this lane. Oh, heck no, this is a freeway. There's all the lanes are possible, We can ask for help in lots of different ways. And here's some options that I offered out, to give them an idea of what else they could ask for as far as help goes. So I started kind of releasing those restrictions on my life by allowing myself to truly be in whatever aspect of my life that was, even though it looked at odds, or it was at odds in the past. I decided, through caution to the wind, what are they going to do? Tell me, oh, you can't say things like that? What, I'm going to say, well, cross your fingers. Okay, isn't that the same thing? Okay, so that's kind of where I came from, into helping to allow me to be freer to express myself in ways that in the past I hadn't.
Thanks, Linda. I want to echo what I'm seeing in the comments here, with Siska saying, I recognize what Jigna says. I feel I kind of defend myself to others about my spiritual work and work with healing herbs. And that's so true. And Linda said this, I'm a software engineer by training, and to be able to, and now I'm switching sides of my brain at this phase in my life, and trying to find common ground, which Ellen echoes, find the commonality in a loving exchange without any expectations of the outcome. Little miracles everywhere. If we are open, we are unique and diverse. And that's so true, because once we find that place of connectedness is when the doors open up. And that's when we can allow ourselves to share these little, deeper bits of ourselves. And so when I'm hiking with friends and the kids are everywhere, my kids and I are, taking a quick moment to connect with the trees, and we're unapologetic about it, and we're doing it, and our foreheads are touching the tree trunks. So by example, like, this is what my kids and I do. And when they're taking a shell from the beach, they're not taking it, they're taking a moment to ask and connect with nature. So there's different types of languages, I think, that it is a different language. And it's finding how to translate it in a way that the other side can receive it. Without a whole lot of judgment. That's the goal. But it's I think, bits and pieces at first. And we have one more comment from Pamela saying, I learned how to love myself by healing my triggers and wounds of conditioning. And I am free to express myself as I am when I'm amongst my family and friends without the fear of judgment, because I'm at peace. And I love to spread that joy with those around me. And it makes my heart smile, and thankful to those who have influenced my path on my journey. And one of those wonderful people is Marshall. I have so much love for you. Aho. That's so true, Pamela. Thank you. And Ellen adding, this is why I work with children. They believe in magic. Oh my goodness. Yes, yes, yes. Yes. Kids are just so sacred. And Ellen, I just got chills, because I firmly believe this. We need to, they are our biggest teachers, in my opinion. So that's what we have so far.
Yeah, beautiful comments. Beautiful comments. You know what? something that came into to mind, and I think that this is where this discussion is going. Years ago, I was very fortunate to meet up with an elder in the Dene culture down in New Mexico. The name was grandfather Martin Martinez. When I met him, he was 103 years old. An amazing, amazing person. And I spent many months with him down there, just kind of just tapping into his brain, basically, learning more about ceremony and learning more about the crystalline grids, learning more about the holy ones and the energies and all this other stuff. And it was a magical experience for me because at that time, many of my elders had passed on, and so I was literally in a land without any more teachers because they had all gone. And so the holy ones directed me and guided me to go speak with Grandfather Martin. Amazing journeys with him, and he taught me a little bit more about the higher realms of spirituality than I was being taught by my own elders, because he, like I say, he's 103 years old. He had a lot of experiences underneath his belt working with the crystalline energy. So, make a real long story short here. He did his work amongst the people down there, trained a lot of people, men and women, to become what we call medicine people, healers. And so I had limited time with him, so then I went back home, and then it was about maybe 2 or 3 years later, I was given a call by the family and said that, yeah, Grandfather Martin, he's not doing too good. He's getting weaker. And so they asked me for some prayers. So I threw out my prayers. And then several years went by, and then he passed away one evening. And it hit me really, really hard, because it was like looking around as an individual, as me, looking around and not having any teachers around me anymore. It was frightening in a way, and something, I don't know, it was like something was missing from my life without having any teachers around me. Well, what happened is the family asked me to come down and to do his final ceremony, what we call a death ceremony. And I said, whoa. I said, here's Grandfather Martin. He's been around with his people for 103, or I think it was 100, I don't remember how old he was, 111 when he passed away, I think it was. But it hit me hard because he had taught many of his people the things that he was taught, right? And trained them, taught them, mentored them, did all that stuff. But he told the family that before he passed, he wanted me to come down and to do his ceremony. And it was very intimidating to me, because it's kind of like, well, I don't have any idea how they do a death ceremony, right? They're a different culture, different, beliefs and whatever, rituals and whatever. And so it was kind of like, whoa, this is powerful stuff here they're asking me to do. And I didn't want to say no, because I had such reverence for the old man. And so I reluctantly says, oh, okay, I'll be down. You give me the times and dates, and I'll fly out of Reno and head to Albuquerque and join up with you. So in that time frame, I was challenged by my own self, I guess, is to go into another environment, not knowing how to do or how to fit in to that environment down there with the Dene people, with my beliefs as a Paiute person. And it was a challenge because it was like I was really concerned about, well, how am I going to do this? And so when I got on the plane, and it was still in the back of my mind, it was like I have no idea what to do. You know, I was getting a little frightened, I guess, or a little intimidated. And what I'm going to share with you now is, I think, is where we're leading to today. My heart was sad because the old man passed away, and my heart was kind of confused too of how do I perform the ceremony for the old man in his lands. And then it was almost as though through the ethers, Grandfather Martin came to me and he says, "Grandson," he says, "I don't know what works with you, but I need you to send me off. I need you to do it your way, not our way." And when he said that, it was like this whole brick wall released from my shoulders. I was given the freedom to do it my way. And so when I got down to Albuquerque, and I was picked up by the family, you know, and we were, you know, hugging each other and crying over the passing. And while we were driving back to his home in Haystack, New Mexico, Grandfather Martin also came in, and then he gave me a song. So that kind of helped me. So we get back to the house, and we're organizing, the funeral and everything. And so they were asking me a bunch of questions. Well, what do you need to do the ceremony? And I said, I don't really need anything. And so we went out to the funeral, and here was about, I'm going to say, at least 3,000 or more people that showed up for Grandfather's funeral. A lot of people. And so then it was kind of like it really hit me hard again. It's like, whoa, here's all of these Dene people right down there. And I'm leading this death ceremony in amongst all of them. It was a powerful, powerful setting for me. And so again, Grandfather Martin, he just kind of, I could feel him tapping me on my shoulder, and he says, "Don't worry about them. You do it the way you would do it for one of your own elders." And I said, "Okay." So I did it. I sang my death songs. I did the ceremony, calling in his ancestors, both on his mother and his father's side, to retrieve him and to take him off planet, singing the death song. That was the last song that he would ever hear, or the last sound that he would hear upon the Mother Earth. And so I released him. What was amazing to me is that I felt that was the right thing to do. I felt good about it. I felt that his ancestors came, retrieved him. Everybody was blessed. The family was blessed. Everything that I would do for my own elder. After the ceremony, one by one, I'm not saying all 3,000 people came, but I would say hundreds came and honored me for doing that ceremony. They'd never seen anything like that. what I'm getting at is that when you're encompassed by the Creator, the Holy Ones, your ancestors, the Mother Earth, everything that is, it gives you a strength that will cut through any division amongst anybody, anywhere, any place. Because I shared in the past conversations is that when we create a place within ourselves, within our soul, within our heart, where the Creator, all of our ancestors, all of the holy realms can work, then it goes way beyond anything humanly possible. It gives us a courage to do what is right, to stand amongst people who are just like us with the knowledge that's been gifted to you by the Holy Ones, and expressing that gift, expressing that freedom that you have to work with the Holy Ones. And again, I mention this, never forget who you're working for. We're working for the Holy Realms, not for these people. We're here to share experiences with the people. We're here to bless the people, heal the people, along with the plants and the animals and all the water kingdoms and all that is here upon the planet. But the freedom comes from knowing that you're doing this work with the Creator, for the Creator, for all living things. And so for me, it's as though I walk amongst the millions or billions of people. I'm not there for their benefit. I'm there for the Creator's benefit. I hope.
Thank you, Marshall. I hope that I'm looking at the comments, and Sandy had a question, and you were answering right after that. So Sandy, I just hope that, Marshall sharing what he just did answers your question. So showing up in a way that feels right with your guidance, you're supported by the holy realms, and do what feels right is the guidance that I'm hearing here. Thank you, Marshall.
Another thing to add on to that is when we do our, I'm going to say, little ritual in the morning, we're asking permission. We're calling in all of our ancestors, both on our mother and our father's side. We're calling all the holy ones, calling in the Mother Earth, all the plants, all the animals, to surround us with that love and that compassion and that nurturing. When we can actually feel that energy around us, when we know it's right there, our guidance comes through them. You know, I've always referred to the grandmothers as a leading factor in my life, as I ask the grandmothers to show me a pathway through this day. And when the sun sets, things will be good. The day I mentioned about that ceremony with Grandfather Martin, that morning, I did the same thing, asking permission to be a part of this day, but asking also with permission to do the ceremony in different lands. I guess what I'm speaking about is that when you, right off the bat, have all of your ancestors and all of that energy around you, no matter what's placed in front of you, you know you're going to be taken care of. You know you're being guided by this energy It's needed at a particular place, or it's needed for a particular individual, or it's needed for the Mother Earth, or whatever it may be, because the holy ones are guiding you. The ancestors are guiding you. They're making a path for you. And sometimes it can be challenging, but when we're reassured that no matter what is placed in front of us, we're going to be able to deal with it because we have the ancestors working with us. And so that gives us a sense of freedom that no matter what circumstance is in front of us, that it will be taken care of in the most benevolent way. But if you go out there alone, then all you have to say is good luck. But it's that feeling that you have that this is the right thing to do, no matter what the circumstances in your mind may create. That the holy ones put you in environments where miracles can happen. But we have to be the ones to stand firm and to stand in that freedom place and saying, okay, this just needs to be done without reservation. I hope.
Beautiful. Thank you, Marshall. We are just about out of time here for today. That was a really good discussion, and we had really good feedback from our community as well. Siska acknowledging gratitude as well, expressing her gratitude. Thank you very much for sharing. It's a lot to think about, and to continue to show up in ways that allow you to express your freedom, your sovereignty. We will be here again tomorrow for our daily live. And Marshall, do you have anything to say in closing? Linda as well, if you have anything.
Linda, go ahead if you have something.
Hi, I do have something to say. Thank you so much, Marshall, for just being here. I love your stories and I get so much out of them. Because I know that through your life, there are experiences that I share also. You know, showing up in a place where I haven't been before, and I'm not sure of, you know, what the protocol is and how things are done, and worrying about, am I going to do this right? Am I going to show up in the right way? And just knowing that there is a resource that I can go to, and knowing that that resource is always available. And that's so comforting to know in so many ways. So thank you for sharing that.
So today, it's all about understanding your freedom. But that freedom is also the courage to be able to endure certain possibilities that the Creator and our ancestors gift us. Sometimes they put us in some precarious, what's the right word? Precarious situations where if we didn't have that energy around us, the holy ones, all of our ancestors, the Creator, whatever, we would probably never do it on our own. But sometimes they place in front of us things that need to be corrected or need to be stood up for. That's what makes the changes. You know, that's what all of this is about, is making this planet a better place for obviously all of us can live, but for the unborn. We have to have that. Well, we don't have to, but for me, I need that kind of energy around me in order to make this place, the planet, a safer place. I converse with the Mother Earth. I ask her for help. The plants, the animal, everything. And then I go into the human realm, and the human realm is like going into a place of mindless entertainment. It's like we have so many people doing so many different things. It's like, what are you people doing? Let's stand up and correct some of these wrongs that we've created in the human world. And so for me, it's just standing up and saying, hey, we need to come together and correct some of these atrocities that we've created here on this planet. And the more of us that have that freedom to work with the holy ones, I feel the faster that change will happen. And that's what this is all about, is getting you out there watching right now to get you to that place where you know that whatever's placed in front of you, that challenge, if you will, is not coming from yourself. It's coming from the holy realms. It's coming from the Creator, Great Spirit. They need you to do the work for them on the planet in a physical form. And so they're going to be giving us more challenges in order for us to change some of the detriments that we've created here on this planet. And the more of us that get that has that freedom to do that, again, like I mentioned, it'll come faster than we think. We'll see miracles. But it starts with us as individuals. It starts with you. You're being called upon to do the work that the Creator has in store for you. That's why they placed us on this planet at this given time. We are the ones that all of our ancestors have been waiting for. We have the strength, we have the courage, we have the dignity, we have the honor and respect to work with the holy ones. And they chose us. We're holy people. And so offer that much today. As we call upon the grandmothers this evening, we ask them to give us more strength, more wisdom, more understanding of our life. Give us more courage to stand up to those things that are not in alignment. And we just ask the Divine Mother to come down and to comfort us as we comfort others. We ask her to work through us so that we can help all the living things here upon our Mother Earth. We have this night, and then tomorrow night will be the final journey with this ceremony. And so harness as much energy as you can to give you that strength, that happiness, that joy, but most importantly, that freedom to be who you are. So with that being said, we'll close them up. Unless there's anything else, Jigna. Where did you go?
I'm right here. Yeah, nothing but deep gratitude from our community. I just wanted to thank Linda. Thank you, Marshall. Thank you to our viewers, whether you're joining us live or watching us later. We will see you tomorrow.
Okay, blessings, blessings. Yeah, follow the ancestors' lead. You'll have a beautiful day. All right, we'll close them up. All right. Again, I ask permission to speak with the holy ones, all the grandmothers, all the grandfathers, all of our ancestors, all that is. Thank you, Mother Earth, for allowing us to walk upon you one more day. We ask for your freedom to express who you are who you need to be. We thank all the encouragement that came in today and all the thoughts, the foundations of how we can become better people, being free, do what needs to be done in a harmonious way. We thank you for coming in. We ask that you can maybe return back to where you came from. We thank you again, and we'll call upon you again the rest of the day. Call upon the Divine Mother of all things to down and comfort us and nurture us, touch our soul, touch our spirit, become better people. Again, thank you for the blessings of this day, and we honor all that is, the hope,